Islam Makhachev previews his fight against Arman Tsarukyan. Speaking with Demetrius Johnson, the UFC lightweight champion gave an assessment to the level of threat that his challenger will present to him and explained why this rematch will look much different from their first fight. When they clashed for the first time, nobody really knew about Tsarukyan and his skills, and all attention for that matchup was on Islam, the guy that fans knew as Khabib's prodigy and the next in line to carry Team Khabib's throne at the top. Arman managed to surprise everybody by going toe-to-toe with Makhachev, displaying his high-level wrestling skills and narrowly losing to the future champion via decision. UFC instantly recognized his potential, of course, and laid out a path for him to ascend to the top, which he eventually did. So now, years later, the two will meet again, only this time with the division title on the line. Islam explains why the first fight was so close, and why he thinks the rematch is going to look much different.
When I fought with him first time, they're looking for some opponent, for me. And like before 1 month, they call me, we will sign some guy, he have good records, he's gonna be your next opponent. And in my mind, I think who is gonna come like this out and from UFC and give me like
a hard time in wrestling.
Yeah. But I don't watch his fighting, He come and we have very good fights. I won all 3 rounds, but right now he improved a lot. Of course, he have more experience in UFC, he have a lot of fight in UFC. But if you ask me, I'm true. I see his style, I see his skills. I don't see something what make me surprised because he have good wrestling. I have same, I have better than him. He have striking, I have better than him. He have grappling, I know my grappling is better.
Jon Anik predicts the timeline of Jon Jones' next Octagon appearance, and while he thinks the opponent will be Tom Aspinall, it might not happen as soon as we hope. Recently, reports of Bones demanding $30 million to defend his belt against the Englishman launched a new wave of speculation on the topic on social media. It is most likely that the fight won't take place until at least July, on International Fight Week. That time of the year has traditionally been the choice by the UFC to put the biggest fights of the year on, and the fight we're discussing certainly meets that criterion. But the most interesting thing Jon said is that we might even have to wait longer than that. In a conversation with Kenny Florian, Anik predicted that Jon's much-anticipated title defense against Tom Aspinall might be delayed to the next year.
Idealistically, ambitiously, optimistically, the soonest we're getting Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall is International Fight Week, July in Las Vegas. And gosh, I don't know. I mean, I don't know that it's out of the realm of possibility that Jon Jones, who just fought in November at Madison Square Garden, I actually, was going to say, I think the soonest you see Johnny Bones is MSG next year, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe.
Wow. Wow.
Well, I mean, didn't we just talk a couple of weeks ago about Johnny Bones saying he's going to fight once or twice the next 5 years? So,
yeah, I think it makes sense for this year though. Just one fight, but I mean, based on your timeline, I like the fight, the International Fight Week. I think that gives enough time.
I think a lot of it depends upon whether or not. Well, does Jon Jones want to fight in Las Vegas? Does he want to fight in New York? Right? Is there a tax implication there that is a part of his decision? So we'll see what happens with Jon Jones.
Israel Adesanya runs into Dricus du Plessis, and the interaction doesn't go too friendly. Their bitter rivalry culminated with the South African submitting the former champion last summer. That was the second fight in a row that Izzy lost to someone he had a lot of heat with during the whole build-up to a fight, with both the DDP and Strickland matchups becoming personal and having high stakes. After losing both and getting dominated, the Kiwi shared he was not thinking about retirement, but just taking time to regroup and consider his next move. Soon, he started talking about going on another title hunt, and with the announcement of the Imavov fight, it was clear he meant business. With less than a month away from his fight against the Frenchman in Saudi, he ran into his old rival and the current middleweight champion, Dricus, and the meeting didn't end up being too friendly. Both have already commented on what was said during their run-in. Allegedly, this happened in Dubai, and when the two saw each other at a party, Israel promised Dricus to try to murder him when they fight next time, as he put it. To which Dricus had an interesting reaction.
I said, when we see you again, I'll try and kill you. And he goes, I'll try and kill you too. I'm glad I had a good day, and I don't like street fights. I don't like confrontation, but if you bring the problem, then I'm gonna solve the problem.
I don't know what he was saying. I'm not here to say anything to him. You know, it's he will never ever be. He will never get what he had again. You know, right now he's talking about so much outside of the sport instead of talking about what's going on in the sport that, you know, is I don't know.
Big John McCarthy reacts to Dana White becoming a member of the board of directors of Meta, owned by Mark Zuckerberg. Discussions about Dana possibly retiring from the UFC were really non-existent until about a year ago, when the boss said in an interview that although he is not planning to retire anytime soon, he sees the end of his active involvement with the company approaching, something that had never crossed his mind ever before. The recent announcement of him joining the board of directors of Meta further indicates his intention to slow down in his active leadership of UFC, most likely leaving most of the technical operations that he took part in to others while still serving as the CEO. Of course, this doesn't mean we will get to see him less, and he's preparing to retire already, but more that the stuff that goes on behind the scenes will potentially see less of his direct involvement. Big John reacts to Dana joining Meta and shares thoughts on what that could mean for the UFC while praising Dana's career success.
Dana has proved he's pretty goddamn smart. He's pretty street savvy. He's pretty savvy as far as, you know, getting people to come to terms with the, you know, things that he wants them to do and stuff like that. He has proved that, you know what, being a guy that has been successful in what he's done and continuing to move it forward and keeping people, employed during bad times like the COVID thing and stuff like that. He is a good boss who takes care of his people, and they want him around. That's why you see Mark Zuckerberg going, hey, I want you sitting on my board of directors. I don't blame Zuckerberg, because he comes from a rational stance. He doesn't sit there and go with all the fucking gobbledygook bullshit. He goes with, what do we need to do to be better? And let's go in that direction. So that's why I think, you know, Dana is going to be a little bit less involved in the UFC, a little bit more involved in other things, but I think it's a great thing. Congratulations to him, and I give Mark Zuckerberg credit. I think it's a very smart idea.
You said Dana wasn't a college educated person. I think he went to college with the Fertitta brothers, correct?
No, he did not. He went to high school.
I went to high school with them.
Yeah.
I thought he graduated from
No.
UMass or like Boston.
No.